So this month we're, ooh, that is loud, yeah. Jim, well, my sound man will fix that. I joke about him being my sound man because he's such a sound person, and yet he's also a sound engineer, so it works out really well. So this month we're looking at the energy or the power of zeal. And that is not a term I use very often or hear very often. Charles Fillmore wrote The 12 Powers of Man, with zeal being one of them. And at that time, 100 plus years ago, it was a word that meant something. So I looked it up, and some of the synonyms were passion, devotion, eager, vigor, gusto, enthusiasm. And so it's this, vibrant energy, right? We know that there is one power, one presence that makes up and moves through all things. And our having zeal comes from being aware of this connection. I mean, this presence literally gives us life. And so zeal comes from that awareness with this presence, but also from a willingness to love and respect ourselves as the vessel of this presence to step into the life that's being offered us. So if we don't feel worthy, we're going to find ways of rejecting that vibrancy. And zeal is that vibrancy of life that comes through us when we let that life force energy of the universe move through us and stop kinking the hose of these gifts that are coming to us. So we often live out of habit or of the rules of society and not live from our passion, not live from the urges the interests that we have. And we stifle our zeal. We say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to move towards this much more practical pathway. But today I want to introduce a magic box that, when opened, can help you feel that connection, see God's message to you more clearly. So to live with zeal is not normal, but it is our nature. God is creating a world through us. And as we become more aware of our part in it, that's when we can be filled with this zeal. Thoreau called it the doorway through which the infinite passes into the finite. The universal becomes the individual. God works through us to create the world around us. Metaphysical philosopher and Jesuit priest Teilhard de Chardin, who was a man who embodied zeal. He said, strictly speaking, God does not make the world. He makes the world make itself. And life force energy is moving through all things. Cultures all over the world have a name for that life force energy. The Chi, Tao, Prana, Great Spirit, and even the Star Wars, I was going to say trilogy, but the Star Wars series, the Force is that energy that makes up all things. So this energy that excites you when you are expressing your creativity, the energy that drives you and invigorates you, it's that pull or the urge to be more. Ernest Holmes, who is one of my favorite authors, I read his book, This Thing Called You, every morning as part of my morning meditation work. He says, it's an infinite stream of living water waiting to be expressed through you. This energy is there all the time. And we often choose to kink that hose, to kind of put a damper on it. And it's often, that energy is often in conflict with how we normally see ourselves. So tapping into the feeling of Spirit's presence, bringing our awareness to that presence can bring us what I like to call, and I think it's really interesting that we sang this morning, an amazing grace moment. Imagine the time when you first heard that song, or you're at a funeral or some place where your emotions are already a little tender, and you really feel that moment where the love of God, you can feel that wholeness. No matter how much you deserve it or you feel you deserve it, there's this rush of love. And that energy is available at all times. And that we can finally, at that little moment, that amazing grace moment, feel the perfection that we are and the love that is coming to us. So it's our job to make that energy manifest, to bring it out, to listen to that voice, and make it happen. And often we block what the divine is offering us because it doesn't fit our picture of the world. We live in a story that we are telling ourselves, projecting all of our beliefs and understanding about the world onto our experience. And this is called the law of identity, or our paradigms. And it's made up of all the experiences we've had, all of the social beliefs that we've been raised with or that we're interacting with at all times, who we think we are and what we think we're capable of, how loving God is or isn't, what good we're allowed to have, or this is the belief, how much good we're allowed to have before something bad happens. Ernest Holmes used this and I really love this illustration. So he says, by way of illustration, imagine yourself looking at a picture of a beautiful landscape. In this picture, there are trees, a house, a stream of water, a beautiful meadow, and in the background are mountains and a blue sky dotted with clouds. And you look at it long and contemplate its beauty. To really feel that just beautiful image. Now, suppose that colored glass is placed between you and the picture so that the picture seems blurred. Everything seems distorted, and yet nothing has happened to the picture. It's your business to remove the colored glass because the picture is still there on the wall, and it still may be seen. So that beautiful picture is the truth, that this presence moves through our lives at every moment. That we are in a world where we co-create with the divine. And we put the colored glass of our fears and our paradigms in front of it. We look at the world and believe that our circumstances are the truth. So how do we change our self-identity? And, a great deal of it has to do with our feelings of worthiness. And, we know how to improve that. We've done classes and heard sermons. And so living with integrity is a huge piece. Following what you commit to, doing, the actions that you say you're going to do, dealing with people with honesty, making the lives of those around you a little better with every interaction. Working with the laws of circulation. All of these things can help us feel more worthy of receiving these things. And I want to just point that I will get to the magic box, but first I want to look at what keeps us from creating the lives that we want. So it's really complicated how much we are projecting all of our thoughts onto things. Sometimes we attach ourselves to an identity that we don't actually even want, but that it has become who we think we are, and we tell people with a strange sort of pride that this is who we are. Oh, I'm a klutz, or I can't sing, or I'm too old for that, or I'm bad with money. And there's something to be gained in being in the club of the people who fit that vice. There's some kind of camaraderie that sort of can happen. The things that we're not proud of, but claim as our own, and we're sticking with it. My stepmother is from a German family, and I know the German history has a lot of like stoicism, and we're not going to take help from someone else, and that kind of. So, looking at these images that we have, these definitions of who we are, this law of identity, and how that identity makes a difference in the world, like how we are willing to reach out or we're not willing to reach out. We're willing to take that risk or we're not because we believe we're this kind of person. A friend of mine put up a short video of her doing this kind of aerobics boxing kind of thing, and my comment that I posted was, I could watch you do that all day. And in a sense, it was basically, I was complimenting her because it was really amazing. She's my age, and so I was like, wow, that's really impressive. But I was also in that same comment basically saying, that's good for you, but I'm not going to be doing that. And to kind of catch ourselves as we work in the world and denying who we really are to the world by these paradigms, this glass that we placed. So our self-image manifests itself in the physical world. We are constantly creating with the divine by what we think and what we feel. During lockdown, I purposely lost 35 pounds, and that is really a whole nother story, but what I want to talk about is afterward. So a few months after, I started gaining the weight back at like an alarming rate. And I hadn't really changed. I was still walking the same. I was still kind of eating the same way. And what I realized was that when I was imagining myself putting an outfit on, getting, what am I going to look like in that sweater? Or, oh, those jeans are going to be way too tight. I had the image of myself 35 pounds heavier. And the universe was taking that image and making it happen. So I was like, oh, okay. So I caught that. And, while I was working to lose the weight, I had this image of myself. Jim and I were going to Ultimate Nationals. Jim was going to play the senior national Ultimate Frisbee, which is a very active sport. And I wanted to be, fit when I hung out with the wives of these national level athletes. And so that was my go-to, and I was like, I wanted to be cute in shorts. And I had this image of a lift in my step and cute in shorts and fit, and I had put that on, I had left doing that. I had stopped doing that. And it wasn't summer, I wasn't in shorts. And so I had stopped visualizing that, and I had put this old image back. I hadn't updated what I really looked like. And so as soon as I did that, then it was fine, and it's been good ever since. That was obviously during lockdown, so it's been a while. So the universe was helping me to create the body that I saw in my mind. Our self-image, the belief that we have about who we are in the world and what we're capable of, and what the divine is bringing us, it's part of, what part of the society is going to hold us back for these dreams. All of these images, play a role in how we are in the world. And we use our experiences to help us weigh decisions we make. And having life experience makes a huge difference in the options that we can see, if we don't let it get in the way. So it's so easy to get caught up in old patterns, our fixed ideas of how the world works. Oh, I could never get a scholarship for that, or oh, I could never, find a way to go to Europe to whatever, all these different things that are in our lives. So it's easy to get stuck in those old patterns, and we think we know how things are, and we leave behind possibilities and choose to live out of habit instead of creation. So we come to every interaction, every aspect of our life with all this stuff. And we don't have to label it, it just is. We don't have to say whether it's good or bad, this is what we're coming with. But when we look at a situation, whether that's physically or mentally, just to be aware that we are projecting our beliefs and understanding about the world. This is how it is, onto the possibilities. And it's like looking through that colored glass. We never see what is actually in the room. And I want to do a little experiment with you. I'd like you to look around the room and see all of the color blue that you can find. So bright blue, dark blue, all the blue that you can see in the room. Okay. Now I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. And bring to mind all the things that you can remember that are the color red in this room. Yeah, I know, it feels like I tricked you. Okay, so go ahead and open your eyes and look around the room for the color red. There's actually not a lot of red in this room. Normally when I do this, there's a little bit more. But the thing is that we see what we are looking for. And we have a part in our brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS. And what it does is it puts everything in a box. It makes it easy to retrieve, and it filters out all the extra stuff that it thinks we're not interested in, and it shows us what it thinks we're wanting. So the RAS can be really helpful. There's so much going on in our lives, and having that filter gets us, can help us get through the day, really, and know where things are and what's going on. But the downside of it is that it gives us a false impression and filters out things that could actually be really beneficial to us. We have these thoughts about how deserving we are, how God works, whether that's in a loving way or a punishing way, and we project those beliefs onto our experience. And it changes what we're willing to see. If we believe that we deserve God's punishment, we will find ways that God is punishing us. Everything that happens to us will be God's, punishment towards us, this judgment. If we believe that we're a failure, we're going to find ways to screw up any gains that we have, whether that's conscious or not, obviously. So we're co-creating our lives with this creative power of the universe at every moment, as I've said, with our thoughts and our feelings, the emotional levels that we have about something. And if we're projecting our fears and our limiting thoughts on the experience, that's what life is going to mirror back to us. So paradigms block us from hearing or seeing the voice of God. And as we live our daily lives, a lot of times we live out of habit. We get up at the same time, we eat the same food, we do the same activities. We come home in the evening, a lot of times we have the same thing. Tuesday night this is happening, Wednesday night that's happening. And what happens when we really just live out of habit is that the world becomes flat and boring and unfulfilling. We cannot feel the zeal of the creative life force when we're living out of habit. So when we do things without shifting our mindset to that creative mode, we get kind of AI results. If you told your story, if you had AI tell your story, it wouldn't have your creative spark. It wouldn't have your uniqueness in it. It would be flat and uninteresting. So we come to every situation in this lifetime with paradigms built up, and we see what we expect. But I have a magic box. And the more you spend time with it, the more it will reveal. It will put you in a space of acceptance and growth, keeping it new and fresh, filling you with zeal. It has a higher vibration and brings excitement and potential. Ready? It's called wonder. So wonder brings curiosity. We change from the energy of projecting to one of receiving. It shifts us out of the story that we've been playing and all the assumptions we make. And it opens us up to listen to that inner voice. Wonder requires a pause from all of the normal busyness and rushing around, and allows us to find a new understanding. It shifts us into a creative and solution-based reality. And we can receive guidance and insights for any kind of question. So Spirit is sending us insights, those signs and lessons all the time, and we have to make a choice to listen and to look for them. If we're projecting all of our thoughts on the world, we're not even willing to see, that person in line standing next to us that actually might, have the key to the thing that we're really looking for, but we're not willing to see it. I didn't have this in here, but I'm going to add this little story. We moved recently, 2.5 years ago, we moved towards Mount Hood. So we live east of Sandy. And it's very rural. We live 15 minutes outside of the town of Sandy. And when I moved there, I was really concerned about not having any female friends. Not like all of my girlfriends lived in Portland. And Jim and I love living out in the woods. And but I was missing that. I was thinking, oh, I really wish I could do this thing. Have these women friends. And as I was thinking this, that same week, Jim and I went to this thing called Tree School, which is for people who have forests that they want to manage. And we took this class, and we introduced ourselves a little bit, and somebody said, oh, they lived above the Sandy River, and kind of described where. And I was like, we live above the Sandy River, like right there. So we met them after the class, and it turned out they lived 2.5 miles off the road from where we live. And we had so much in common. We really liked each other. And it turns out, so our youngest son, Sam, went to college in Minnesota to this little school that had 2,500 students. And it turns out their son, Sam, went to the same college. So, but if I wasn't open, if I hadn't decided that I wanted more female friends, I would have just been like, oh, that's nice, she lives nearby. I wouldn't have heard it. I wouldn't have been looking for that connection. Jesus says, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And we know that the kingdom of heaven is not a place, it's a mindset. And it's with that energy, that newness, that we are open to feeling God and open to the guidance and insight that's there at every moment. So think of that child, how open they are, how they're just experiencing everything. They're learning everything for the first time. They're open to these possibilities and awe and trusting and curious. And I was thinking about how it's sort of like this, you're a tourist and you're in this new place, and the clock tower is so amazing, and the trees are so tall, or all these things. And as we live in this beautiful place where the trees are so tall all the time, we can kind of tune it out because it's not new. But if we look to the world with wonder, we can put on this new perspective of unseen, like, oh, I never noticed that before. We have 13 acres, mostly of old growth forest, and I walk it every day. And there are times where I'm like, did that tree fall, or has that been there all along? Like, there's so much that I can't, I still can't. I've been doing it 2 years, and I still don't. I'm still new. It's still new every day. So when we look at our life with wonder, what we're able to do is to see the beautiful picture that is there without the colored glass. And we stop projecting all that we've been taught about the world onto our experience. Like with finding women. I lived so far out, I had so few neighbors, there was no way that I was going to find people who have similar interests to me. And actually, to tell you the truth, I have 5 women friends within like 5 miles of my house. Yeah. So instead, part of what we look at is we have the world telling us why something won't work, why it's inappropriate. And when we put on wonder, we become receptive to what the universe wants to show us. We don't have that judgment of oh, that's not going to happen, or oh, that's inappropriate. And we can feel that life force moving through us in creative ways, inspiring that passion for life. To live with zeal, we face the world with wonder and expect God to show us something. We move into the experience Ernest Holmes calls enthusiastic expectation. We are excited to be shown what's coming to us. We trust that the divine will bring us something specifically for us right now. We do the work, and then we trust that it's coming, with this enthusiastic expectation. Can't wait to open this gift, this box. We will have that vibrancy that is the life force moving through us. If I'm facing a problem, a seeming problem, I can easily decide that I have, a few options, most of which I'm not really very happy about. In my limited worldview, it seems like these are the only options. I'm not even open to other possibilities. But if I shift my mental state and look at the situation with wonder, what can I do? Expecting that answer to come. I find that that's when the doors open. That's when the people show up in your class that live just down the road. That's when solutions come that you never would have thought of. And the thing is, once they come, they seem so obvious. It's like, oh, of course, that's perfect and easy. We receive insights from unpredictable sources. Support comes from places you never would have known. Ernest Holmes says it makes life a game that is a joy to play. Wonder helps us take a pause and to really look at the world closely without all our paradigms. And wonder and gratitude often go hand in hand. The gratitude helps us to notice what's around us, and they both put us at that vibrational level to hear the message from the divine. We're in that receptive mode. And, it can be kind of a thrill because often when we shift our perspective to wonder, we are shown something that's actually already there, like the red in the room when we were looking for blue. Jim and I knew we were in the same circle of people for 3 years when I first moved to Portland. And same friends, hi, I knew him, but I didn't even see him. And then all of a sudden one day it was like, oh, it's you. And we've been married 31 years now. And I had no idea. When we open to that wonder, when we're looking to be shown, the things that are in plain sight become insightful. Jesus also said, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The fields are already ripe for the harvest. And it's the story that we're telling ourselves that keeps us in this pain and suffering, or can move us to the kingdom of heaven. Ernest Holmes says, life is not static. It is forever dynamic, forever creating. Not something done and finished, but something alive, awake, aware. There is something within you that sings the song of eternity. Listen to it. There is an eternal springtime of your soul, always rising, but never setting is the sun of your destiny. Wonder gives us the energy of a child, allowing us to see what is already there and to enter into the kingdom, which is available at any moment.